So what's up people and welcome to another anime/manga discussion. So for this episode I would like to talk about an anime/manga called Tomochan wa Onnanoko, or Tomochan is a girl. Now this is a manga that has been around for several years now, but it just recently came out as an anime. And I'm very happy about that. Now I will have to say I have not seen the anime at all yet, and I have only looked at the trailer. So why am I making a video about this? Well, this was a manga that I really enjoyed a few years back, and I have read it to its entirety. And this is a very funny and very wholesome story, which revolves around a tomboy girl named Tomochan, and thus the title. Now, this story is basically a rom-com. So why am I reading this? Well, it's basically a rom-com that is almost more a com than it is a rom. It is a very hilarious story, and I enjoyed the antics of Tomo and the gang as she tried to express her feelings towards the guy that she liked, which was her childhood friend Jun Kubota. Now, the satire of the story basically comes because Tomo is a tomboy, and she grew up most of her life doing guy-type things. And so when she got together with her best friend Jun Kubota, they always hung around and did guy-type things. And so they were always the best of buds, and they still are. But recently, Tomo, now that she was in high school, started having very strong feelings about Jun. And unlike many other rom-coms where you almost have to wait until the end of this story before anybody confesses to anyone else, in this story, Tomo confesses to Jun right from the very beginning. And that's where the satire comes. You see, Tomo wants a romance, but Jun has always enjoyed their bromance. And so whenever Tomo starts trying to express her feelings and telling Jun, "I love you, dude," yeah, Jun returns back, "Yeah, I love you too, bud," and gives her a high five, you know? And so this awkward situation that comes up where Jun is basically still treating Tomo as a dude creates all sorts of problems because, of course, Tomo wants Jun to recognize her as a girl. Now, what's interesting is in the manga, and most likely in the anime, Tomo is a very attractive girl, but because she dresses up so much like a tomboy, Jun only can consider her as a dude. Now, Jun isn't that stupid, and he, of course, knows that Tomo is a girl. But because he has always cherished the relationship that they have always had as bros, he really has a hard time accepting the fact that she is a girl. And this, of course, causes the satire in the story. Now, the other thing I really like about Tomochan is a girl is that, of course, it is a relationship story, but the relationship falls beyond just Tomo and Jun, and actually goes out towards her relationship with her other friends, such as Misuzu and Carol, as well as a few other supporting characters that come up. And so it is a slice of life sort of story, almost as much as it is a romantic sort of story. And it is basically not really the romance that is the focus, but the unusual life that Tomo experiences while she's trying to create a relationship with Jun. And of course, the characters that come out, such as Misuzu and Carol, amplify that comedic moment. Now, the story, just like with many of the other rom-coms type stories out there, has your typical stereotype characters. Tomo appears to be a stereotype tomboy, and Jun appears to be that typical dumb jock sort of character. Misuzu turns out to be that cynical sort of friend, and Carol turns out to be the ditzy blonde. But the thing I really like about Tomochan is a girl is that despite their outside appearance being very stereotypical, there actually is a tremendous amount of depth in each one of these characters. And the author, Yanagida Fumita, does a really good job in portraying each of these characters as a far more complex character than a lot of other rom-coms out there. And I think that's because of the fact that, once again, this is more a slice of life comedy than it is just a romantic comedy. And so the objective of the author is not to try to create a meme type ship like many of the people expect a rom-com to be, but it actually revolves around the complex story of Tomo and the gang. And in fact, much of the story revolves around the sporting characters such as Misuzu and Kero just as much as it does around Tomo and Jun. And the friendships that she creates with these other characters becomes just as important as her relationship with Jun. And so it is a relatively interesting story. I wouldn't say it's a really deep story, but it's a lot less shallow than a lot of other romantic comedy stories out there. There's a little bit more character to a lot of these people. And the story goes into a little bit more story than just typical fun antics that are going on around the two main characters. And that is something that I really enjoy. You actually can see progress in the plot, which is beyond the story of just the relationship between Tomo and Jun. And although the focus is always towards Tomo and Jun, a lot of the story that moves forward because of that is actually stories that go on to the relationships with the other characters. And so this is a story that I enjoy very much because it's hilarious, it has a lot of depth, and it's actually quite wholesome in its romantic comedy. Now, I was a little bit surprised that this actually became my anime because the manga is a yonkoma. Now, a yonkoma manga is basically, unlike other mangas, they basically have chapters that end with 4 specific scenes, and that's why it's called a yonkoma. The equivalent in the Western comics will be the old syndicated newspaper comics such as Doonesbury or Heathcliff. And so it's really hard typically to take a yonkoma manga and turn it into an elaborate story because each one of those stories is very short. But like I said, there is a lot more complex a story in Tomochan is a Girl than many of the other rom-coms because it takes the yonkomas, which are somewhat self-contained, but connects them together so that it takes many of the yonkoma chapters and puts it together to create one single story arc. And so because of that, it is one of the yonkoma mangas which was able to adapt itself into anime. Now, I haven't looked at the anime yet, so I don't know how well this very sarcastic comedy that comes out in this story is done. But when I looked at the trailer, there was one thing I really did enjoy. The voice actors for this anime is really well done. When I heard the voices of Tomo, Jun, Misuzu, and Kero, they sounded exactly like what I expected the characters to be. So really kudos to the director, as well as the voice actors for these 4 characters. Now, the voice actor for Aizawa Tomo is Takahashi Rie, and she is a veteran voice actor, and she does an absolutely fantastic job of portraying that tomboyish, tough-as-nails sort of girl that's romantically falling for this guy. Which is interesting because, of course, Takahashi Rie is also the voice actress for Takagi-san, who is a much more softer sort of individual than Tomochan. But then, on the other hand, she is also the voice actress for Megumin in the anime Kono Subarashii Sekai ni Shufuku wo, or Konosuba for short. And Megumin is, of course, an outrageously energetic character. And so you could tell from her role as Takagi-san, to Megumin, to Tomochan, that this actress can portray various personalities really, really well. Now, of course, a rom-com is only as good as the character that the main character reflects to, which of course in this case is Jun. And Jun is portrayed by Ishikawa Kaito, who is also a veteran actor, and he does a very good job of playing relatively tough roles. Some of his most notable roles are Naofumi in the anime Tate no Yusha no Nariyagari, or The Rising of the Shield Hero, as well as Genos in One Punch Man, both relatively serious and masculine sort of roles. And so in this case, although it is a little bit more comedic a role than Genos, who is a very serious character in a very funny anime, this one is a lot more lighthearted, but he has that right voice for this personality. Now, equally important are Tomo's two friends, Misuzu Gundo and Carol Olston. And Misuzu is played by Rina Hidaka, another veteran voice actress, and she has played some very prominent roles, such as Philo in The Rising of the Shield Hero, as well as Mirimu, or Milim, in Tensei Shitara Slime Datta Ken, or The Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, as well as Last Order in the anime To Aru Kagaku no Railgun, or That Certain Scientific Railgun. And the thing I liked about Rita Hidaka is, despite she has done some very interesting roles in the past, this one is very important because Misuzu may be one of the more difficult roles to voice. She has to be that extremely cynical, almost comically cynical voice of Tomo's best friend. And from the trailer, I found that she voiced it very, very well. And so these voice actors are doing a fantastic job. And of course, last but not least, is Carol Olston. And she is voiced by Amaki Sari, or Sally Amaki. Now, Amaki Sally is not a veteran voice actress. She is actually a relatively newcomer. And so she doesn't have too many roles that she has been noted for. Probably the most noted role that she has up to this point is a very new anime as well, where she portrays Eliza Shimizu in Bocchi the Rock. But she does a fantastic job of portraying that really ditzy sort of character named Carol. And so if the voice actresses are the way they are, and if the director continues to write the story the way author Yanagida-san portrayed the characters in the manga, this will be a hilarious story. And even an extremely stereotypical role such as Carol is actually really well done in Tomochan is a Girl, because as much as she looks like a ditzy blonde in the surface, as the story keeps on going on, you find out that there is quite a bit of depth and a lot more to this character than she originally portrays. And so this is one that I was surprisingly happy to see become an anime, and I'll probably watch it, though I won't make video discussions about it. And I hope this story continues to go on. This is actually a fairly lengthy story. And just like with many other rom-com mangas, such as Takagi-san or Nagatoro-san, it takes quite a while for this relationship to solidify. But I don't mind it at all with Tomochan, especially with Tomochan, because the story of these relationships with the other characters builds a very nice ecosystem to which you want to see how it evolves. And so if you are expecting a very immediate ship, and if you want this to be a meme ship sort of story, then you might be a little bit disappointed with that. But I think the point is to let the story go on its own, laugh at the hilarious antics that go on, and let the two characters naturally come together as a couple. So if you are interested in a good comedy and don't mind that it's a rom-com, then I would say if you get a chance to read Tomochan is a Girl, I would suggest that, yeah, it's a darn good manga. And if you rather look at the anime, it has come out, and I will leave a link to the trailer that is being shown on the Crunchyroll channel. But in any case, this is the introduction discussion for Tomochan is a Girl. If you have read the manga or if you have seen the first few episodes of the anime, what'd you think about it? Any comments that you can leave will be greatly appreciated. And I'll continue to discuss other mangas in future videos, and I hope you join me at that time. And until then, happy anime watching, happy manga reading, and as always, enjoy a nice day, everyone.